Chosen one, God exposed the enemy inside your house, watching your every move, powerful intro speech paragraph style. Chosen one, there comes a moment in every spiritual journey when God pulls back the curtain, not to frighten you, but to awaken you. You've sensed something wasn't right. You've felt watched, drained, and spiritually agitated even in the place you call home. That's not imagination, that's revelation. God has seen what you couldn't, and now he's bringing it to light. The enemy wasn't in the streets, the workplace, or the news. It was sitting in your living room, watching your every move, silently envying your anointing. But don't be afraid. God didn't show you to torment you. He showed you so you could rise above it. This is not the enemy's moment. This is your moment of clarity, of awakening, of divine protection. You are being invited into a deeper awareness of who you are and what surrounds you, and once something is exposed in the light of God, it cannot return to the shadows. You are not alone, you are not crazy, you are being elevated, and this exposure is the final test before your breakthrough. The enemy is not outside, it's a reflection of your inner doubt. Chosen one, the greatest deception you will ever face is the belief that your enemy exists solely outside of you. The one watching you, undermining you, and seemingly plotting against your every step may live in your house, sleep under your roof, and eat at your table, but their presence is not the root of your problem. They are merely a mirror, a divine reflection, a living echo of the doubt and fear you have not yet faced within. This is the mystery most overlooked, that every enemy revealed in the outer world is born first in the silence of the inner world. You attract what you tolerate in your thought life. The energy of fear, suspicion, betrayal, and self-abandonment has a frequency, and whatever matches that frequency, even unknowingly, is drawn into your life like iron to a magnet. You didn't invite the enemy consciously, no, but unconsciously. The belief that you are unsafe, unloved, or unsupported made room for someone to embody those beliefs right next to you. That's why their presence stings deeper than a stranger's hatred ever could, because it feels like a betrayal of your sanctuary. But this pain isn't meant to punish you, it's meant to wake you up. You are not just the victim of someone else's shadow, you are the gatekeeper of your own vibration. If something dark slipped in, it did so through an unlocked emotional door. God, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, is now showing you not only the intruder, but the entry point. Don't fixate on them. Look within and ask, what part of me doubted I was safe in my own home? What part of me believed I could be surrounded and still be spiritually alone? This is not a message of blame, it is a message of empowerment. For what you created through unconscious agreement, you can dissolve through conscious alignment. You see, the enemy is powerless without your belief in their power. What fuels them is not their strength, but your fear. What empowers them is not their actions, but your silent assumptions that say, I can't trust anyone, I'm always being watched, or people close to me always hurt me. Those thoughts become spiritual contracts, and every contract draws a counterpart. But now that God has revealed them, the contract is void. You are no longer unconscious. You are no longer blind. You are no longer accepting a house filled with subtle chaos just to maintain false peace. God is pulling back the veil so you can see clearly, not just who they are, but who you have been. You've been powerful all along, but unsure of your own authority. You've been chosen, but still questioning your identity. And so your house, your sacred space, became a training ground where the hidden fears played out as characters, friends, and even family who didn't really support your growth. Their betrayal is not your destruction, it's your initiation. You must now accept this truth. The war was never just around you, it was within you, that uncomfortable feeling you've been having around them, that silent tension, the drained energy, the subtle monitoring. It wasn't your imagination. It was your higher self sounding the alarm. You felt unsafe because your spirit knew what your mind refused to see. And now, because you are ready, God has let it be exposed. You are being given the sight to recognize what was always there. This is not about paranoia, it's about power. You can now reclaim your inner sanctuary, no more allowing others to sit at the table of your peace while they silently war against your purpose, no more mistaking proximity for loyalty. No more thinking you're crazy for sensing what others pretend not to see. The exposure of the enemy is God's declaration that your next level demands new awareness. If the enemy had stayed hidden, you might have kept shrinking, doubting, second, guessing your intuition just to keep the peace. But now that you see clearly, you can no longer go back. This is your moment to turn inward, to find where the fear was rooted, to forgive yourself for letting it grow, and to rise with bold clarity. What you feel within is what you manifest without. So if the enemy showed up under your roof, it's not because you're cursed, it's because God is showing you that your consciousness is evolving, and the old reality can no longer stay hidden. The masks are falling, not to terrify you, but to set you free. You're not losing your mind, you're finding your power, and from now on, your inner world must be fiercely guarded. You must choose thoughts of safety, of divine protection, of inner harmony. You must decide daily that you are worthy of peace, and in that decision, the vibration of your house will shift. Those who cannot match that frequency will fall away or be removed, and those who remain will either rise with you or be exposed again. You are not helpless in this battle. You are the architect of your atmosphere, and when your atmosphere is rooted in truth, no lie, no matter how close, can survive. So today, let the revelation humble you, not break you. Let it strengthen your discernment, not harden your heart. Forgive yourself for the ways you ignored the signs. Forgive them for playing their role in your awakening. But above all, choose now to evict every belief, every fear, every lie that gave the enemy a seat at your table. God exposed them, but now you must decide. Will you dwell in truth or return to illusion? Your house is sacred, your mind is holy ground, and your awareness is the key to peace. Let the enemy go, let your doubt die. And let the new reality rise. God uses exposure to elevate you, chosen one. You must understand something deep and unshakable in this season. When God exposes, he is not punishing. You are being positioned for elevation. What feels like betrayal, heartbreak, or spiritual warfare is often a divine strategy to strip away what cannot go where you're going. The exposure of the enemy, especially when it comes from within your house, those you've loved, trusted, or poured yourself in, is not to destroy your peace, but to prepare your foundation. You have asked for growth. You have cried for purpose. You have declared, Lord, take me higher. But elevation never comes in silence. It comes through separation. It comes through illumination. And often it comes through the painful but necessary revelation of who was never truly for you. When God begins to reveal the one smiling in your face, but secretly speaking against your future, it is not an act of cruelty, it is mercy. He loves you too much to allow snakes to slither into your next level. The same hands that will bless you will first tear the veil. The same God who calls you chosen will first challenge you to discern what you've tolerated too long. You thought they were with you because they clapped when you succeeded. You thought they were loyal because they stayed close, but exposure proves what applause never could. Proximity is not partnership. Presence is not protection. Some were only near you to keep you stuck in old versions of yourself. And now God is shaking the house, not just to remove them, but to elevate you. Every spiritual promotion requires a pruning. Every breakthrough demands a breaking. The weight of your calling requires stability, and God cannot let you build your destiny on shaky ground. So he allows the shaking. He lets the masks fall. He lets you overhear what was whispered. He lets you feel the sting of betrayal. Not to harm you, but to make sure you no longer settle for the familiar at the cost of your future. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it confuses the heart. But elevation always requires clarity. And clarity sometimes comes through conflict. You're not being torn down, you're being tuned up. God is refining your circle because your calling requires purity. When the light shines into hidden corners, you will see things you didn't want to see, attitudes, energy, intentions that once were veiled by kindness or shared memories. But now God is saying, look again, listen deeper, pay attention. The person who always joked about your dreams was never joking. The one who was just curious about your business was gathering ammunition. The one who offered constructive criticism was secretly trying to sow confusion. And though you feel the sting of loss, what you're really losing is the weight that kept you grounded. God does not expose to embarrass. He exposes to empower. He reveals so you can release, because elevation cannot occur in bondage, and any attachment to hidden enemies, whether emotional, relational, or spiritual, is still a chain. You can't soar while dragging anchors. So God, in his infinite love, sets a fire under everything hidden, not to destroy your comfort, but to make you move. You were too kind. You were too trusting. You were too willing to believe people had your heart just because they were in your space. But now you're being sharpened, not bitter but better, not paranoid but discerning. You now understand that exposure is an announcement. It means your next season is arriving. It means what once worked is no longer aligned. It means your identity has shifted, and with that shift comes a cleansing. That's why it had to be someone close, someone familiar, someone you would not have questioned unless God forced the truth into the open. Because elevation requires transformation, and transformation demands discomfort, you prayed to be more, to see more, to walk in purpose. And now God is answering by removing the blindfolds and opening your spiritual eyes. Don't resist it. Don't run back into the arms of what you now know was never for you. The door was closed for a reason, the light revealed for a purpose. Stand in it, accept it, and rise, because exposure is a signpost. It says, you're too big for this room. It's time to go higher. And to go higher, you must travel lighter. The betrayals, the spying, the secret sabotage, it's not just personal, it's prophetic. It's the sound of God clearing the path for what you've been carrying in your spirit for years. This isn't destruction, it's divine disruption, and it's sacred. Let God remove what he exposed. Don't cling to what he's cleaning out. Don't try to fix what he's revealing is broken. You don't need to explain yourself to those he's exposing. You don't need to justify your peace, your boundaries, your distance. Once God shows you their true spirit, your only responsibility is to act in alignment. If you ignore the revelation, you delay your elevation. Because what you allow after exposure becomes your decision, not your test. Don't fail your future by holding on to your past. They were in your house, yes, but they were never in your heart. They were around you, but never assigned to you. And now that God has removed the veil, you can finally see clearly who you are, what you deserve, and what you must never tolerate again. Exposure is not the end. It is the birthing place of destiny. Every exposed lie, every hidden motive, every manipulative smile was a setup for your rise. This isn't just about who you're leaving behind, it's about who you're becoming. You are stepping into a version of yourself that can no longer carry old weights. You are walking into light so strong that anything false will be forced into the shadows or removed entirely. Trust the process, trust the pain, trust the exposure, because it was never to punish you. It was to elevate you into purpose, power, and unshakable peace. Your imagination reveals the truth before your eyes do. Chosen one, there is a sacred faculty within you that God gave not to decorate your inner world, but to direct your destiny. It is your imagination. Before anything is exposed in the natural realm, it is first unveiled in the unseen world. Your imagination is the silent prophet, always whispering the truth your outer eyes cannot yet perceive. Long before the enemy in your house started showing their true colors, your imagination began ringing quiet alarms. That discomfort you couldn't explain, that unease you felt when they entered the room, those dreams where their face appeared in strange, unsettling ways, it wasn't coincidence, it was communication. God speaks through the image, maker within. Imagination is not mere fantasy. It is the lens of the spirit, the place where truth flashes before it becomes visible. You must understand this. You were never meant to walk by appearances alone. You were given a higher sense, a divine vision, and when you began to feel something was off, it was not paranoia. It was prophecy. It was your spirit preparing you for the unveiling. Most ignore the whispers of imagination because they fear being wrong. They fear confronting what they hope is untrue. But you, chosen one, have been set apart to walk not by sight, but by divine perception. That vision you kept pushing down, the one that made no sense at the time, the one that contradicted their sweet words and close presence, that was truth trying to rise. Every time your imagination painted their betrayal, it wasn't creating fiction. It was revealing fact before form. The spiritual world always precedes the physical. Nothing appears in your life that did not first take shape in the invisible, and the gift of imagination is your early warning system, your sacred compass, your inner mirror showing you what reality is about to confirm. But the question is, did you trust it, or did you suppress it for the sake of peace, for fear of being wrong, for the illusion of unity? Most do, and that's why the exposure hurts so deeply. Not just because of what others did, but because deep down you already knew. You saw it, you felt it, you imagined it, not as fantasy, but as insight. You sensed their envy even as they hugged you. You picked up their energy even when they smiled. Your imagination rehearsed the truth before it was safe to say it aloud. But now that it's been exposed, you must no longer question that divine gift within. You must honor it, refine it, and trust it going forward. For this is how God leads you, not always with thunder or voices from the sky, but with subtle impressions, images, and inner movements that seem small but carry sacred weight. Your mind is the meeting place of heaven and earth. And when God wants to warn you, he sends a signal not to your eyes, but to your spirit, that flicker of a scene, that visual nudge you couldn't explain. That was your protection. You may not have known how to interpret it at the time, but its presence was enough. You are being called to trust your inner eye more than what people show you, because the enemy is often polished, practiced, and pleasing to the outer senses, but the spirit always knows, imagination always discerns. And what it reveals must be taken seriously if you want to walk in freedom. Consider the times your mind played out conversations before they happened, and they came to pass, or when you saw yourself pulling away from someone before you even knew why. And then, suddenly, truth emerged. That was not coincidence. That was inner revelation preparing you for outer reality. And now that God has confirmed it through exposure, you must become fiercely loyal to your inner knowing. Do not doubt the voice within again. Do not second guess your visions because they seem too strange, too specific, or too painful. They are your lifeline, and often the first sign of betrayal, danger, or falsehood will not be spoken aloud. It will be imaged in your soul. This is why the enemy fears your imagination, because once you see clearly within, they cannot deceive you without. Your freedom begins the moment you believe your inner revelation more than their outer performance. They may fool others, they may convince the world of their loyalty, but if your imagination sees otherwise, pay attention. God will never leave you without a witness, and that witness often arrives as a silent picture before it becomes a loud exposure. You are not crazy for seeing what others overlook. You are not delusional for sensing what others cannot feel. You are simply awakened, and now the veil has been torn. That inner suspicion is no longer a maybe, it's now a memory. What was once felt is now proven, and what was once imagined is now embodied. This is the power of divine foresight. You were prepared before you were shaken. You were warned before you were wounded. And now you are being healed not just of the betrayal, but of the self-doubt that kept you from trusting your own divine perception. Let this be the moment you reclaim the power of your imagination. Let this be the day you begin to listen when the vision speaks, even when the evidence is yet unseen. For in the spirit realm, imagination is not play, it is prophecy. It is sacred instruction clothed in image and emotion. And the more you honor it, the sharper it becomes. Do not wait for outer chaos to confirm what your soul already knows. From this point forward, let your inner eye lead, let your vision rise, let your trust deepen. Because now you know, God gave you the gift to see beyond, and that gift will always reveal truth before the facts do. Trust it, guard it, and never again let the performance of people make you doubt the prophetic images God has placed in your soul. Not everyone living with you is walking with you. Chosen one of the hardest truths you'll ever have to accept on your divine journey is this. Just because someone lives with you, under the same roof, shares the same meals, sees your struggles and your sacrifices, does not mean they are walking with you in spirit, in purpose, or in calling. God has allowed certain people to dwell in close proximity, not because they are part of your promise, but because they are part of your process. Some were assigned to test, not to walk. Some were sent to expose, not to uplift. And the longer you confuse location with alignment, the more you delay your breakthrough. There are people in your house, in your circle, in your bed even, who do not have the capacity to walk with you where God is taking you. And it's not because they're evil in appearance, it's because their spirit is not connected to your destiny. They are with you physically, but disconnected from your journey spiritually. This is why you felt alone even when surrounded. This is why your spirit grows weary in places that should be restful. You've been trying to force unity where God is revealing division. You've mistaken shared history for shared vision. But the truth is, some people are only comfortable with the version of you that fits their mold. The moment you start to grow, change, and align with God's plan, they become irritated, suspicious, even hostile, not because you did anything wrong, but because your evolution threatens their comfort. You are rising, and they are still rooted in the old version of life you are leaving behind, and so God begins to show you, not in loud confrontations, but in subtle energy shifts, in cold shoulders, in silent judgments, in their inability to celebrate your small wins. Pay attention. The disconnect isn't in your imagination. It is spiritual. God is revealing who's walking beside you but not with you. And he's doing it now because the next level requires clarity. It requires that your inner circle be filled with people who not only see your light, but also protect it. People who don't just share your space, but support your spirit. And that cannot happen if you keep dragging the familiar into a future they're not assigned to. Some of them are only still closed because you haven't had the strength to release them. They have been draining your energy, downplaying your vision, and derailing your peace. But because you share a roof, you've confused access with loyalty. Hear this: not everyone who has access to you has been approved by God to walk with you. Some were only allowed to be close so you could learn discernment, so you could finally trust your inner knowing and stop second guessing what your spirit has been screaming for months or even years. Your spirit recognizes vibration before your mind catches up. You've felt it, the resistance, the silent envy, the passive-aggressive words, the tension in the air when you speak about your calling. That's not love. That's not support. That's spiritual misalignment, and the longer you stay entangled with misaligned people, the more you delay what God is trying to birth through you. It's time to stop apologizing for outgrowing people. It's time to stop explaining your growth to those who are committed to misunderstanding it. You were never meant to stay in the same emotional room forever. Growth demands separation, and sometimes separation looks like creating boundaries even with those under the same roof. You can live in the same space but no longer live in the same spirit. You can be cordial, respectful, kind, but you must also be spiritually guarded, because the enemy doesn't always come dressed in red with horns. Sometimes the enemy sits at your dinner table with a smile. Sometimes the enemy laughs at your jokes but secretly mocks your vision. Sometimes the enemy is the one you've been trying to protect, not realizing they are watching your every move with resentment in their heart. And that's why God is exposing it now. Not to destroy your family, but to define your future. He's showing you what's beneath the surface. He's letting the cracks in their character show. He's allowing their mask to slip just enough so you can see that their footsteps aren't walking with yours. And in this moment you must choose. Will you cling to comfort, or will you walk in calling? Will you continue to carry people who have no intention of building with you, or will you finally release them so your spirit can breathe again? Don't be deceived by appearances. Just because they show up doesn't mean they support you. Just because they say the right words doesn't mean their heart is aligned. God judges by the Spirit, and if your spirit has been warning you, pay attention. The ones truly walking with you won't need constant explanation. They won't mock your faith or minimize your vision. They will feel the fire of your calling and fan the flame. And if that's not happening, then perhaps they were only meant to walk with you for a season, not a lifetime. Some people are scaffolding, used to build you up, but never meant to stay attached, and when God starts removing scaffolding, don't fight to hold it in place. Let it go. Let him shift the foundation. Let him clear your path, because the next part of your journey is too sacred to be walked with people who are secretly against it. You've spent enough time trying to make everyone comfortable, trying to keep the peace, trying to fit your divine assignment into someone else's small expectation. But now God is calling you out of that emotional prison. He's saying, you've seen enough. Now act. and not everyone living with you is walking with you. And now that you know, you must walk differently. Not in fear, but in focus. Not in bitterness, but in boundaries. Not in hate, but in holy awareness. You were not called to drag the dead weight of human approval. You were called to walk in the full light of divine alignment. And if that means walking alone for a season, so be it. For in that season, God will surround you with those who are always meant to walk with you, not because of shared space, but because of shared spirit. So walk boldly, chosen one, let the revelation free you, let the truth sanctify your space, and never again confuse presence with partnership. Exposure is the last step before breakthrough. Chosen one, you must understand this sacred law of divine movement. Before the breakthrough, there is always exposure. It is the final clearing, the last divine sweep that removes every hidden hindrance before God unlocks what he has promised you. And it is never random when God shows you who has been against you, who has been spying on you under the disguise of support, who has been draining your spirit while smiling in your face. It is not to break you. It is to birth you. Exposure is the spiritual signal that the old is over, that the door is closing, that the version of you who tolerated certain energies, entertained certain people, and ignored certain gut feelings is no longer required for the next level. That old version is being laid to rest, and the real you, the called, the purified, the awakened one, is about to rise. But before the rise, God removes. He will not allow the next chapter to be polluted by old toxins. He will not let a snake travel with you into the sacred space of elevation, and so the storm comes, the betrayal surfaces, the truth cracks through the illusions, and suddenly what you once couldn't see becomes undeniable. That person you were praying for, God reveals they were praying against you. That family member you thought was silently cheering you on, God lets their hidden resentment leak through. That friend who said they'd always have your back, God shows you they've been feeding your enemies information. It's painful, it's shocking, but it's prophetic, because exposure is not the enemy. It is the evidence that your breakthrough is near. God does not waste revelation. He doesn't uncover secrets just for the sake of drama. Every unveiling is strategic. It is a divine pruning that ensures your future has no spiritual parasites clinging to your elevation. That's why things often fall apart just before the promise arrives. That's why relationships get tested, why the atmosphere in your home suddenly shifts, why people who once supported you begin to act distant, irritated, or unpredictable. It's not coincidence, it's warfare. And more importantly, it's transition. The enemy senses your breakthrough before you do. That's why the attacks intensify right before your release. That's why the enemy within your house suddenly becomes more obvious. They know what's coming. They've felt the anointing shifting. They've seen your alignment becoming stronger. They've watched your confidence grow, and in their panic they reveal themselves, because God will not allow the mask to stay on when his child is stepping into promise. The closer you get to breakthrough, the less spiritual camouflage is allowed. Light demands exposure, and when you are walking in the light, anything that hides must either flee or be revealed. So instead of fearing exposure, embrace it. Instead of crying over the loss of connection, praise God for the preservation of purpose, because what he removes, he replaces. What he exposes, he intends to heal, and what he ends, he always follows with a new beginning. But you must be ready, ready to walk away from what he's shown you, ready to let go of the familiar voices that no longer carry truth, ready to stop questioning the vision simply because it disrupts your comfort. The breakthrough you've been waiting for is on the other side of obedience to the exposure. If God showed you, it means you're ready to act. You're no longer blind. You're no longer deceived. And what you do with that awareness now determines how quickly you step into what's next. Many people delay their elevation because they refuse to release what God has revealed. They pray for breakthrough but remain bound to betrayers. They ask for expansion but continue housing enemies in their spirit. And God, in his mercy, waits. He waits for you to align fully. He waits for you to stop negotiating with what he's already dismantled. He waits for you to declare, I see it and I release it. Because until you do, the breakthrough remains on pause. Not denied but delayed, not cancelled but postponed until your hands are empty enough to receive what's coming. So take this moment seriously. You're not imagining things. You're not being overly sensitive. You're being sanctified. You're being refined in the fire of truth. You're being stripped of illusions so you can wear the garment of clarity. Exposure is the evidence that the cocoon is breaking. You can't stay hidden anymore. You can't walk with blindfolded faith anymore. You're being called into the light, fully, boldly, unashamedly, and those who were never meant for the light will fall off in this process. Let them. Don't chase what God exposes. Don't justify what God reveals. Don't comfort what God confronts. Stand in truth, declare your freedom, and walk forward knowing that exposure is not the end, it's the announcement. Your breakthrough has been released in the spiritual realm. And the only thing left is your alignment in the physical. So clean the house, guard your peace, protect your mind, elevate your standards. The promise is closer than it's ever been, and the enemy, though loud, is already defeated. Because what's exposed can no longer manipulate. What's revealed can no longer destroy, and what's brought to light is now under God's judgment, not your burden. You are free now, and the weight you feel is not grief, it's growth. The tears you cry are not for loss, they are for liberation. This is the threshold of breakthrough. This is the final step before the doors swing wide. Don't look back, don't hold back, walk through. For God has exposed what could not walk with you, so that nothing and no one can block what He's about to do in you.